What's going on, everybody? This is Zach with uh, back with week number 3 team builder for the Pokemon Speedruns Draft League. This week, my opponent is Parahax and the New York Yanmegas. You can see our records on the left. I was managed to win, pick up a win last week. I'm 1-1. Parahax lost a pretty close match last week, so he dropped to 0-2. So let's go ahead and take a look at the team builder. So let's start with our opponent's team up at the top. Start with the Z Crystal users. So the two Z Crystal users that they have access to are Tornadus. Tornadus is a really good mon this week against me. And it's something that I don't have a great answer to. I have one okay answer to. But it's going to most likely be his Z Crystal user I think he brings this week. Mostly because it's the better of the two Z Crystal users, and there's a good chance that he has to bring it. The other Z Crystal option is Stakataka. There's a chance that Stakataka gets brought anyways, even without a Z Crystal. If you notice, a lot of his mons on his team are very slow. And that's because this team is sort of like a Trick Room team. And I think he brought Trick Room both weeks that he played. So I'm fully expecting Trick Room. Other notable threats on the team. Tapu Bulu was his tier 1 pick. Tapu Bulu's a really powerful physical attacker. It can also be a relatively bulky grass type if he wants to build it defensively. And Fairy and Grass is a really good typing overall. I'm actually not super scared of Tapu Bulu this week. Because I do have Charizard X, who can beat it heads up. Although if it's carrying any fairy coverage moves, that might be a little bit hard. The awkward thing about Tapu Bulu for him is Tapu Bulu has like middle of the road speed, and so what that means is that during outside of Trick Room, I outspeed it with the majority of my threats. And inside of Trick Room, I have slower Pokemon like Scizor that can beat it, or even Neolegos outside of Trick Room can damage it quite well. Charizard X can damage it quite well. So I do expect him to bring it because it's just a really powerful Pokemon, but I'm not as afraid of it as some of his other mons this week. Other notable threats are his Trick Room sort of sweeper core in Crawdaunt, Reuniclus, and his Mega, which is Mega Camerupt. These are his main like Trick Room sweepers. I guess Aromatisse also can get thrown in there with Stakataka. So these are basically his payoffs for Trick Room. Crawdaunt is an incredibly powerful Choice Band user. It's very similar in my mind to Kabutops in Rain. It feels like very similar, where it has like access to Swords Dance, Stab Aqua Jet. It's got a really powerful second stab. With Dark, I forget what coverage move it gets for Dark, but for its stab. But yeah, really good physical attacker. Really good in Trick Room because it's a very slow base speed, 55 base speed. Reuniclus is a really bulky Pokemon. It gets a ton of great abilities. Most of the time it's going to be running, I think it's called Magic Guard, which prevents residual damage from things like Poison, from Stealth Rocks, from Sandstorm, like any of those types of things. But it can also run a Regenerator. It has really good abilities, but most of the sweeper sets will run that Magic Guard to prevent like Toxic mostly. And it's a good setup sweeper with like Calm Mind and stuff like that. It can also set Trick Room. Camerupt is insanely good in Trick Room. Super powerful special attacker. Gets access to dual stabs and Earth Power and Fire Blast. And yeah, really can put a hurting on if you're not ready. And Aromatisse is a pretty good another Trick Room setter as well as a good sweeper. I think it gets a Nasty Plot and the Fairy type. So other things are Bronzong, who gets Support Mon, gets access to Stealth Rock as well as Trick Room itself. Skuntank is just kind of like a tanky wall Pokemon. Lycanroc is a pretty fast rock type. It's very similar in my mind to like Aerodactyl. It's like a good physical attacker with access to Stealth Rock. And Gligar is an Eviolite mixed wall, usually physical wall. Gets access to defog and stealth rock also. So my team was a bit of a weird coincidence. So I was looking through my team and I was like, man, like a lot of my Pokemon are kind of awkward because I have some Pokemon that are slow, but he always has like slower Pokemon. So like I have Pokemon like Scrafty, which is base 58 speed, but then he has Crawdon, which is 55. Or I actually just picked up, as you can see there, I've replaced Raichu with replaced Raichu with Spiritomb. Also a really slow Pokemon, but he has both Reuniclus and Stakataka, which are slower. So it's like, okay, I can't really like do the underspeed him gimmick if he doesn't want me to. And so this team, I was like, I knew I wanted to bring Scrafty this week. I knew I wanted Scissor this week. They both had pretty good matchups against his team. But then I realized, I was like, man, my Hoopa has like really good matchups, except for it can't win in Trick Room. It's gonna lose. It's gonna get hit, and it also can't switch in on anything. And then I was like, what do I do to like beat this? Because like if I can get Hoopa in, Hoopa's gonna be really good. And then I realized that I could run an anti-lead set. So that's what is going to be the first Pokemon I talk about. So I'm super excited about this. This set, if he brings the wrong team, he can't win. He's just going to lose. So let me name all the Pokemon that this Hoopa set can one-hit KO. It can one-hit KO any variant of Tapu Bulu with Gunk Shot. So 80% chance to hit. If it hits, Oko. Double super effective. I can Oko Crawdon with Z Focus Blast or regular Focus Blast. So this is actually going to be changed. So I had not changed this beforehand. So originally, as you notice there, I had Drain Punch because this is obviously you can see this is a physical attacking set. I'm adamant here. And then I realized that I was like, okay, well I can either Z fighting either Crawdon or Stakataka, but I have to Z one of them if I'm going to be using Drain Punch. And then as soon as I was like, man, this sucks. And then originally I was like, okay, well, I don't know what I have in my last slot. I had Taunt there for a minute. I had, and then I actually put Focus Blast as my fourth move. It's like, okay, well, I can Z one of them and Focus Blast the other. And I was like, well, that's kind of awkward because I kind of need Ice Punch in case he switches into either Gligar or, Tornadus, which it doesn't Oko either of them, but it does a decent chunk. Then I just realized before I started recording, it's like, what if I just run Focus Blast? Because even though I'm adamant, which is my special defense, the Focus Blast Oko is the only two Pokemon I would want to use it against anyways, despite that fact. And I don't love the accuracy on Focus Blast, but the good news is that if he doesn't bring both Stakataka and Crawdon, then if I get to fight Z one of them, I don't even have to ever Focus Blast and risk the bad accuracy. So it was a compromise because I didn't have a move like Close Combat to use. If I had Close Combat access, I would have just used that. But this Pokemon, so it can Oko, Crawdon, and Stakataka, even defensive Stakataka. I can Oko both of them. I can Oko Trick Room offensive Reuniclus, and I can 2-hit KO defensive Calm Mind Reuniclus. But I think there's a good chance he brings the offensive Trick Room version because that's what his team is. Even if I don't Oko the Calm Mind Reuniclus, it can't do anything back to me. And even if he sets up, like, the only risk there is if he's running like a really bulky Trick Room version of Reuniclus. So then I might get outsped. But I like I said, the regular offensive version of Trick Room Reuniclus, I Oko with Hyperspace Fury. I actually have a 6% chance to even get the defensive one. Bronzong, if it's running a plus special defense nature, I Oko with Hyperspace Fury, which is a very good lead for him normally, and he might lead it not knowing that this is my plan, because he gets Trick Room and Stealth Rocks. I Oko Aromatisse as long as I hit my Gunk Shot. 2-hit Mega Camerupt if he leads with Mega Camerupt with Hyperspace Fury. But he can't Oko me back, so he can either set up Stealth Rocks or he can get 2-shot. Like he can do one or the other. He can't kill me though. If he leads Tornadus, which is unlikely, that's one of my main bad matchups. I can't do very much to Tornadus, and he can threaten me with U-turn, so I can't stay in against Tornadus. But if he switches in and I chunk it, then that will help me for my other mons later down the road. And then Gligar, I also don't OHKO, and it can threaten me with U-turn. But I do two-shot it, and it doesn't one-shot me with U-turn, it just does a lot of damage. Lycanroc Dusk, if he leads on that or brings it, which he hasn't been, then that's a bad matchup as well. As Skunk Tank's not a great matchup either, especially if it's a physical attacking, like a more offensive Skunk Tank. I can two-shot it with Focus Blast, I think, but it's not a great matchup because it has Crunch. But basically, the majority of his likely to set up Trick Room Pokemon, I can one-shot or threaten very badly. And being in the lead slot, I don't have to run the risk of basically my idea is to try to kill him, any of his Pokemon that would set Trick Room up before he sets it up, and prevent him from setting it up at all. And I think especially if he notices that my speed tiers are lined up with his in such a way that he has to run minimum speed 0 IVs to make sure that I didn't under speed creep him on some of my Pokemon. So if he's running minimum investment, my Hoopa outspeed, which is normally a really liability with its 80 base speed, it actually outspeeds a ton of his team, which is huge. So this is the main idea behind this team is get Hoopa in and just hammer crap. The IVs 252 on attack plus Adamant Nature lets you deal the most damage. Speed is 216. With Adamant, that lets me outspeed max speed Adamant Tapu Bulu, which is his most likely going to be his only Pokemon that's going to come close to me speed tier wise. If he runs a plus speed nature on that, which isn't common, whatever, you got me on your Trick Room team. But otherwise, I outspeed every variant of Tapu Bulu that's common. That's going to be the IVs. Extra EVs were in for defense, just to kind of tank some hits. Yeah, so that's my Hoopa. That's going to be my main lead. I'll go a bit quicker through the rest of the team. So this Scrafty was a bit of a weird set. I originally was going to run Choice Band, and then I was going to run Life Orb, and then I was going to run Leftovers, and then I realized that I didn't need that much extra power, because originally I was Adamant, what have you. I didn't need that much extra power because this was mostly there for Stakataka and Crawdaunt, as this is kind of two checks, and it can also come in against Lycanroc Dusk. It's pretty good against that. So this, and it also does a decent job against Bronzong. There's a bunch of things that it does an okay job against. It actually can come in against Reuniclus in some situations, especially if it's Calm Mind Reuniclus, because it doesn't do that much damage. And originally I ran the Fighting Berry, but then I realized that if I don't run Taunt, which I realized that Taunt wasn't going to be that good, because the Pokemon I would want to taunt might just kill me. So I realized that I can run Assault Vest, get good special defense. Intimidate was the main thing, because this is not this is not how it's run normally, where it's a setup sweeper in lower tiers. This has to fight against things that have a little bit more bulk to them. So it's this can't be your main plan, your sweeper. This is more of a utility Pokemon, kind of like how it's used in VGC. So I opted for Intimidate over Moxie or Shed Skin, because I'm not running Rest. I don't think there's going to be that much status flying around from his side. He's mostly a sweeping team. So I just figured that this was the best set. Intimidate lets me switch in on things like Crawdaunt, lets me switch in on things like Stakataka without taking almost any... Crawdaunt can still deal a good amount of damage, but I threaten him back. Speed, I didn't run any speed investment. My hope is that he runs minimum speed Crawdaunt, because if he runs max speed Timid Crawdaunt, then some of my plans get thrown off. But I'm hoping that he's planning on getting Trick Room up and planning to underspeed me as a result of that. Because if not, then if he's just kind of running standard sets on Crawdaunt and things like that, and not thinking about the fact that he's trying to get Trick Room up and I have Pokemon that could underspeed him, then we might be in a bit of a pickle. Because my next Pokemon, so sorry, really quickly, Knockoff is for Reuniclus and just good spam move. High Jump Kick OHKOs a lot of his fighting weak Pokemon, and then Drain Punch is there just because it adds recovery, and if they're weakened, I don't want to have to risk the recoil damage. Ice Punch is to help cover against the same Pokemon that Ice Punch was on Hoopa, which is his Gligar and his Tornadus if it switches in. I can actually tank with Assault Vest. I can actually tank at full health a Z fly from Tornadus and live, and then not Oak. I can two hit KO with Ice Punch. So if it switches in on me and thinking it's gonna kill me, I can actually surprise it and 2-hit KO it. So that's the main set. The EVs, the attack was all I needed to make sure I got 2-hit KO on Tornadus and OHKO'd the physically, the fighting weak Pokemon, and then the rest were in different bulk, for for longevity, obviously. So this week I finally bring Scizor. I've been meaning to bring Scizor for a few weeks. This set is basically your standard choice band set. It's a bit awkward because I may audible and try to run some set and fit defog on here. Whether I just do something awkward and run choice band defog over, say, U-turn, or I try to run a life orb set. The problem is I really need the extra power from choice band to get some of the kills that I need, most notably on Bullet Punch on Tapu Bulu, and there was one other calc I needed to make sure that I was running like Adamant, Max Attack, choice band to get certain kills. So in that way, I'm a bit pigeonholed because I don't have a defog option this week if I don't run it on Scizor. The other alternative would be to get rid of Seismitoad and run a Choice Scarf defog Landorus, but Seismitoad has some better matchups. It can help against like Crawdont that's choice locked into like a water move, so like I felt it was better to have Seismitoad instead of Landorus. So that was the main idea here. So, but this is mostly to help check Reuniclus. I'm hoping he doesn't bring HP Fire, because if he does, I'm in trouble. The Reuniclus, if it doesn't get caught out by my Hoopa, then I might be in trouble against it. So that's one thing I'm a little scared of, is that he runs HP Fire. But if not, then I can Crush and Pursuit Trap Reuniclus. But yeah, this is a pretty standard set. There's not a lot here. I didn't run any speed investment because, again, I'm thinking that his Crawdont is going to be like minimum speed, whatever, and this can beat Crawdont heads up with superpower. However, the awkward thing is that if he does run like max speed Jolly Crawdont, again, I don't think he should if he thinks he's going to get Trick Room up. Like, if he realizes that his plan is Trick Room, he should run minimum speed 0 IVs. But if for some reason he just copy-pastes some sets in, or he doesn't go for Trick Room and I'm just overlooking the fact that he thinks he can beat me outside of Trick Room, and or he just doesn't think about that he needs to run minimum speed to like underspeed my Scrafty, then it's going to be hard, because this I ran the extra HP for extra bulk to be able to switch in on things better. But even if I was running like max speed Adamant, I still can't outspeed Jolly Crawdont, because Jolly Swords Dance Crawdont especially. So it's a little awkward because I don't want to run Jolly Scizor. That's just like silly. You don't ever do that. Because you just benefit so much from the extra attack. So it's like I'd have to I originally had it IV to outspeed Adamant Crawdont. Like Choice Band runs Adamant, but he ran Swords Dance last week, or 2 weeks ago, whichever one he brought Crawdont. So I was like, okay, well then if he's Jolly, I don't want to have to try to outspeed a Jolly Crawdont. I'm just not going to do it, so I'm just not going to run any speed. But yeah, that's the idea there. The attack is just enough to get the OHKOs that I need. Extra went into special defense to like tank Reuniclus, Psychics or whatever better. And HP for other just random hits. This also helps me check it helps me pseudo revenge kill Tornadus if it's low. Alright, I'm gonna go through the rest of Pokemon quicker. Charizard this week, it is a 3-attack Roost set. Mostly this is there to kind of just mop things up that are weak, especially outside of Trick Room. The speed investment is just enough to outspeed. What was it enough to outspeed? I can't even remember. Might have been Tapu Bulu. I think it was Tapu Bulu. Yeah, 250. That's enough to outspeed Tapu Bulu. That's what I have here, right? Yeah, it's the same exact speed tier that I'm trying to hit. So I outspeed Adamant max speed Tapu Bulu, or not Adamant. Adamant? Yeah, Adamant. I outspeed Adamant max speed Tapu Bulu. The rest of the speed is irrelevant because all of the rest of his Pokemon are slow as hell or faster than me. So I can't outspeed Tornadus. So cool thing is that gives me more bulk. The weird HP and special defense EVs I think is so I can switch in an extra time on Stealth Rock. I also could have done the math on that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's correct. The only weird thing about this set is Brick Break. Brick Break is because Dragonclaw doesn't do anything. He has 2 fairies on his team and like 2 steals. Like, what am I going to do with Dragonclaw? And doesn't hit anything super effectively. But Brick Break can OHKO Crawdon if he comes in thinking he's going to, like, Aqua Jet me or something. And I can tank an Aqua Jet if I'm Mega Evolved. Also worth noting that if for some reason he has... I'll get to it in a minute, but basically, my biggest fear is that he brings Gligar. I actually don't want him to bring Gligar at all, because if he does, and he leads with it, that's one of the only Pokemon I cannot stop from getting up Stealth Rocks, and I'm not running Roost, or no, I'm not running Defog. So it's going to be really awkward to switch in Charizard if that happens. I'm going to have to just, like, switch on something that I scare out and Roost, and then hopefully I can, like, bait in, like, a Crawdon or something and then actually stay in. But if not, Charizard might be pretty useless this week, unless I can fit Defog somewhere, which I might change. But yeah, Brick Break gets exactly Crawdon. Next up, I actually didn't think I was going to bring Neolego this week. I feel like I say that every week. But once again, Neolego's here because it's a fast revenge-killing Pokemon. It's actually also my primary switch into Tornadus. So basically, like, I was like, man, I'm like literally looking at my matchups, and like Neolego has like garbage matchups against everything on his team except Aromatisse and Tornadus. And even then, Tornadus has U-turn, so it's not even like I'm just checking Tornadus until I run out of like HP. Like it's not great. Like I beat it 1-on-1, but he just will U-turn away, and he's faster than me, so it's like I can't even try to threaten him realistically. But this also helps pick off like random weak things, which is why it's here. I realized originally I had T-Bolt on here, but T-Bolt doesn't hit anything. Like, for example, against, I'm gonna be using, I guess it hits, oh yeah, that's what it was. So T-Bolt hits Crawdon, except for you literally cannot beat Crawdon because it's Aqua Jet. So, like, you can switch in on, like, choice-locked Crawdon that's not locked into Aqua Jet and not in Trick Room, and then T-Bolt threaten it. But he's not gonna stay. I'm not gonna really do that because he OHKOs me with Aqua Jet, and I can't stop it. So because of that, I don't need T-Bolt, and because I don't have T-Bolt, I get to run HP Ice, which really is mostly there for Gligar because Power Gem does more to Tornadus. But yeah, again, EVs 250 speed, outspeeding. You'll notice a trend. I'm just outspeeding Adamant, Max Speed, Tapu Bulu, because any extra, like, there's between Tapu Bulu and his next speed tier up is Lycanroc Dust, which is 110. So he goes from 75 to 110. I guess he has Gligar, but Gligar never runs speed investment. So it's like, you can't outspeed the 110, so you have to you're just going to outspeed his Tapu Bulu. And if he brings max speed, like, speed plus speed nature Tapu Bulu, then grats, but that's like not going to happen, I don't think. So I've just basically, all my Pokemon are get to, like, I get to put a ton more special defense investment in to tank hurricanes and heat waves and whatever that the Tornadus probably has. But yeah, this is basically dedicated Tornadus check. Last Pokemon on the team, Seismitoad. This is my Stealth Rock user this week. Pretty standard set. I'm running only special moves because of Stack Attacka. Earth Power does way more damage than Earthquake does to Stack Attacka, so that's why it's Earth Power. This can also pseudo check Crawdon to an extent, although it can't do a ton back to it. It can help against, what else can it help against? It's mostly there. Oh yeah, Camerupt. Camerupt, this is like a pseudo check to Camerupt because I can do I can two-shot it. Once again, I had to run Surf over Scald because I literally just needed the 10 extra base power, so I didn't have to invest in the special attack. So another awkward Surf over a much preferred move in Scald. But yeah, that's the main idea. So long story short, main idea this week is hopefully Hoopa just kills 2 things, because if he's not ready for what the Hoopa's going to do, and he doesn't know what set I'm running, and he doesn't realize I'm going to lead it, he can very easily lose like 2 or 3 Pokemon to this thing. His only Pokemon that can safely switch into this are Tornadus, and even if he switches in Tornadus, he's going to take a decent chunk, which will help me get it down. He doesn't really want to switch Lycanroc Dusk in, although it does beat me heads up. Skuntank can definitely switch in, and Gligar Gligar is a little awkward for him because if he switches Gligar in and takes too much damage, then he risks dying to Ice Punch. And my hope is that he either doesn't have, like, he's going to bring Tornadus almost certainly, but I'm hoping that I can beat Tornadus and then keep both Stealth Rock and Trick Room out of the equation by leading with a very powerful attacker. And then I'm hoping to be able to sweep with, you know, basically the only real Pokemon. I don't really have any setup sweepers this week. I'm mostly just trying to hit really hard. So that's the idea this week, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. This is going to be a bit of a, this could be a kind of a sink or swim week where I could have mispredicted, or maybe I didn't run enough speed on some of my Pokemon because I thought he was going to be minimum speed and I get punished for it, or not having a setup sweeper will punish me. There's a lot of things that could go wrong if I didn't get a good read, or if he happens to bring the certain combination of Pokemon that don't allow my lead to do its job, basically. It's not likely he knows I'm leading this. He probably thinks I'm going to lead on either Neolego or Seismitoad, because those are like pretty obvious, especially if he brings, like, say, I'm hoping he brings Bronzong, because if he brings Bronzong, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win. Because I don't know if he knows how bad it is against me, and if he brings it, he's almost certainly going to lead it. I basically hope he just leads someone that's going to try to set up Trick Room. Or Tapu Bulu, which I Oko. So, like, I'm hoping he leads something I Oko and doesn't know what I'm doing. If he does, and he realizes it and he leads, like, Gligar, then things are going to get a little bit messy because I'm going to have to improvise a lot. But that's going to be the game plan this week. Sorry this is a little bit longer, but this is a bit of a more kind of complicated strategy this week, and I'm hoping it pays off. Because I really think this Hoopa is really cool. The fact that it outspeeds almost his entire team with only 80 base speed, which is normally its biggest liability, is how slow it is. And having the luxury of it outspeeding everything else before Trick Room means that if I just punch holes in everything, he might be too weak to recover. That's the idea. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we pick up a W this week.